Well, welcome to
Welcome.
Success Secrets and Stories. I'm your host, John Wandolowski, and today we're going to be doing our special YouTube presentation, Stories Author to Author. It's where we have a chance to talk to an author about their motivation and their approach to writing the book and what is near and dear to their hearts. Today, I'd like to introduce Don Woodstock. And Don, you've written a very interesting book. You had it there in your hand. Can we see
Yes,
that title?
yes, it's unrelenting. I should
Unrelenting.
say. There you go, unrelenting.
Unrelented, and it's a wonderful book. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what was your motivation and a little bit of the backstory of writing your book?
Well, the journey started with I think my need to look around and observe and saw what was happening with our recycling program in the city and recognize that we weren't paying attention to some of the details that need to have been paid attention to. And so I said, what can I do? So Dr. David Suzuki was in town, and so I thought, let me go meet the guy and see if I can get some ideas from him as to the best way forward. And what he said to me just ring home true to my soul, my heart, my mind, and his advice was start at the local level, but don't stop, because no matter what you do, success comes with not stopping. And so I thought, hell, I'm just gonna do it. So the first thing I did was I did a documentary, Your World and Mine, which is on YouTube, and you'll see me in the natural stage, just talking to folks, talking to people on the streets, and saying, hey, what can we do? What can the city of Winnipeg do more in terms of the recycling program? And so we get a different viewpoints from almost every individual out there. I gather that together and go, yeah, I need to keep going, as Dr. David Suzuki said. But looking back at the whole thing at some point, I say, wait, this needs to be told in terms of the journey, in terms of the experiences, because now that I had an opportunity to look back at it, and I pinched myself to recognize that I started with an idea, a dream, a vision, and I'm now living that vision. I'm living that dream. Not very many people get to start something and literally see it flourish in front of their eyes. So
Right.
I thought, man, I have to write this book. I got to write. I have to tell this story so that it will inspire others, youngsters, regardless of what they're thinking of. The next generation can go, you know what? Yeah, I think if I just hold true to that belief and just keep going, I can't go wrong. And this is exactly what happened.
And so you can probably rest the book at this point
Yeah,
if you want,
yeah.
because I
Relenting,
think
right? You just
there
keep
you
going,
go.
right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So a little bit of the love of the land and the things that you've learned about the recycling and how to be good to the earth. You learned as your early days when you were
Yes,
farming and the respect for the land. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that and how that was like your start of your book.
absolutely. I'm a proud Jamaican. I'm a proud country boy. Grew up on the farm. The lessons that I've learned have made me the man I am. My grandfather have some profound lessons that I've practicalized over the years. As a youngster growing up, I didn't appreciate as much of this, but now you're a grown man. You look around, you say, "Wow, you're able to hold true to that." Farming was our way of life. Farming was the bread and butter. Farming was what keeps the community together. And so you had to learn habits that was sustainable without you even realizing that they're habits that were sustainable. So
It was natural.
sustainability becomes a everyday language, a everyday habit. So when you look around and see people throwing away the stuff, or you look around and you're not seeing that sustainable practice, you kind of go, that's not right. you know.
Right.
So through those experiences as a youngster on the farm in Jamaica, learning what it is to conserve, learning how to grow vegetable in the driest parts of Jamaica. St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, have the lowest rainfall per capita. Yet still in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, we have the most vegetable growth.
Right.
Okay, in the
So
driest
you,
part of Jamaica. So, so you had to, you had to learn this to defend the environment, to be a part of an environmental structure that sustain you with your water supply, sustain you with your food, sustain you with the practice, because without that you don't eat, without the business of community. So I may grow yam, but you may grow potato. Now we can't eat yam all year and you can't eat potato all year. You may not even grow anything, but you have cows on your pasture because you can't farm it. So what became a way of life was I share my yam with the guy with the potato guy shared with me, and the farmer and the cattle rancher share his meat to get my yam and get his potato. That's just how sustainability, this cycle works. Because now we are
yeah.
now together as a family, together. And even though I'm not family as my brother or my sister, but you are my brother, you are my sister,
Right.
okay? Because we're part of this
Right.
whole. A lot of people don't seem to put that together. That
Right.
you and I are interconnected, whether you like me or don't like me, whether you see me or don't see me, we're all interconnected. We're all oneness. And when you watch Your World and Mine, you'll see one of the fellow mention that we're all oneness in this world. We're all together. It's all connected. And that's one of the reasons why I think that motivates me to keep going. And thanks to those practices and habits that became my life. I'm very blessed to have gone through and lived through a period when farming was my day to day activity, my life, my bread and butter, how we eat.
Right. So how you're connected not only to the land and to the recycling, one of the greatest supports that you've found through your life, you were talking about it earlier, was your connection with your wife and how she has made that transition and affected you in terms of how I think how you've been able to work as an environmentalist and trying to tell the story from both
Yes.
your perspective and from her perspective. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So, one of the hardest things for a lot of folks to do is to be able to follow their own dreams, their own
Right.
ambitions, their own aspirations. Some of the 9 times out of 10, these dreams are never realized. Okay, because nobody sees what the end is. Nobody knows what Friday is, and we are Wednesday. So for you to talk about 10 years from now or 20 years from now, it takes a special person to believe in you, to
Yes.
kind of go, you know what, I am going to go with you, I'm going to support you. That support that she has lent. And sometimes it's as simple as just listening, and
Right.
sometimes it's simple as giving the advice, or giving her 2 cents or 10 cents or 50 cents or a dollar, whatever, right?
Sure.
Um, but you interface with somebody who believes that what you're doing will make an impact. I may not see the impact now, but at some point I will. And I am blessed to have met her, and she supported me from day one. My
Yeah.
journey started a little before her, but when she came on, she was bang on. She was right there, every rally, every event, you know.
Yes,
She
I do.
even works some of the shifts for me. She, she was, she rolled her sleeves up, and she had gumption. She had tenacity. She was the silent giant in all of this. And so
Sure.
yes, so that's why I mentioned at the beginning of the book that without her, and she, she explains it. And I don't know. Let me see if she's here. Hey, Kat. One sec, babe. And so one of the things that I have said repeatedly is that every successful person or every successful thing that you do, you have to find that one person who believes in you,
Yeah.
not just something that they say in their mind and go, yeah, I can support that, but do they actually support it 100%
In their heart.
in their heart? Because
Yeah.
when they do, it can. Okay, so here she is. So now
Hi,
I'd like
Kath.
to share
Morning again.
share with us as to when we spoke initially and says, honey, I'm going to do this. What are your thoughts? Share with us your thoughts, your own perspective as to why did you go along with this.
When I first met Don, he seemed like a very charming, very, had a lot of character. And as I got to know him even more, he had this drive inside of him that whenever he kind of feels like something's kind of wonky or needs some attention, he's always right there and asking questions.
Sure.
I found that very endearing in him, that he wasn't just sitting on the sidelines and watching things go by and make a comment that was, that should change. He would say, let me ask them what's going on here, and he would do that. And to me, that's somebody who has a good heart and a good brain, and he wants to make change happen. So being alongside of him, working with him, it's very a lot's going on. Always, every
Sure.
day there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
but he's always focused on making change happen. So it's good to work alongside of him. He always has a direction. He's always keeping things focused, not letting you get off into a different sphere. But he's generally he's a good guy, and
Well,
so that's a part of your heart, right? It's
exactly.
part of your heart. So.
When you have the connection that the two of you have, it's interesting that he wants to make sure that you're part of the conversation because
Always, yeah.
you are more one when you're together,
Yes.
Yes.
and you have more strength as one.
Absolutely.
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 Yes.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
All
So
right.
and I saw some of that in just your support this morning. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Technical support.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, super. Right on. Yeah. So there you have it. Yeah, because I wouldn't be. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be
Right.
fair. It wouldn't be authentic or true or real if I had pretend that there weren't days when I needed her to hold that arm that was weak,
Right.
that leg that was tired, that comforting word. As simple as those things are, if the person
Right.
cares about you, they are going to support you and support you in a way that is going to give you the energy to sleep, get up the next day, and have the strength to go again. Because it's not going to be easy, and
No.
I don't want to paint the picture to anyone as if this is going to be a walk in the park. Whatever your dreams and aspirations are, you
Right.
have to have the tenacity to um, um, don't quit. Um,
Right.
Winners quitters don't win and winners don't quit.
See, I was
So
going to ask you a quote that you were inspired by, and that's probably a great
that's
spot.
that's one of them. My grandfather always say, one cook a full basket. It's
Okay.
something
Sure.
something that he says God knows how many times. So you grow up, and the magic behind that is very simple. A lot of times we want to have a full basket, and I use basket a lot in my analogy and statements. But in order to get to a full basket, don't expect to pick up 50 pebbles or 50 cocoa or 50 bananas at once. No, you cannot plant corn and reap peas. And if you were to plant corn and peas came out of it, you would think something gone wrong.
Yeah.
that whoa, what just happened here? Genetically modified to another level and dimension that you would be afraid to eat it. So
Correct.
then why do you conduct yourself in a manner that you're planting peas and expecting watermelon? No, you have to be able to be steady, be focused, understand that whatever you put in is what you'll get.
Right.
Don't
And
be
understand
afraid
what you're
to
putting in, which is your
understand what
point.
you're putting in.
Because
What?
if there's so many chemicals that we're dealing with nowadays, and that's some of what you were talking about.
Yes.
You have to know what you're dealing with, because there's side effects of just taking anything that a scientist is telling you,
Yeah.
and then the farmer in your heart is saying,
Ooh.
no, that's
Don't.
not right. That's a pea. That's not a corn.
Yeah.
That, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So a little bit of your background is that you've communicated your message, and you talk about it in your book, from local government
Yeah.
to city government
Yes.
to federal government,
Yes.
and your path in terms of teaching people in your book. You're highlighting that path, and you're trying to encourage others to follow me.
Yes.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
So, so when Dr. David Suzuki talked about start at the local level and don't stop, he was bang on. Didn't understand the statement quite well, but at the local level, you'll get the one and the two individuals to listen to you because they're thinking this is not going to rock any major boat, even though you want to rock the boat.
Right.
So at the local city hall level, I identified. Of course, you have to spend some time banging on doors, talking to people, and whatever. So, but I identified Councillor Harvey Smith, who was able to listen to me. At the time, it wasn't politically expedient for him to work with me because of politics, right?
Sure. Of
So what
course.
did he do? He directed me to somebody else who I sat down with them and we worked through. And it took us about almost a year to get to the point where I could make a presentation to City Hall. And when I did make that presentation to City Hall, it came in the form of I was the first presenter, and I'm asking the city to change the name from Garbage Day to Recycle Day. I was
Sure.
the first presenter, and I struggled with what can I do and say. They hear the stats before, they hear the lingo before. What could I be able to do or say that would make them want to go? Yeah, let's make this happen. Dog, you want to get out? Go to mama. There you go. So I then decided last minute. I go. You know what? Let me focus on something different. So Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes sing a song. The world ain't gonna get much better if you don't make a change. So I said, you know what?
Right. Right.
My presentation is going to be just the song. So I practiced. Of course, first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock. You gotta get ready here, buddy. You're the first presenter. So with no music, I sang the song
That's awesome.
as my presentation. I did the entire song. Shocker. They loved it. Like, holy
I
smoke.
just would love to have been in that audience. I would have loved to have been there. That would
Oh
have
my
been
God.
awesome,
They
especially at
loved
eight
it.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they loved it. Let's go. Oh my God, again a clap. Oh, okay. And I'm looking around,
But it's stuck in their
it's
minds.
stuck in their mind. The world ain't gonna get much better if you don't make a change. It's up to me. It's up to you.
Yeah.
We can't sit down and allow everything to just evolve. We have to step in, and so that was beautifully done. The mayor of Winnipeg at the same time, Sam Katz, he was the deciding factor, and he voted in favor of making the change. Hence, we dropped the word garbage
Garbage.
day and
Right.
we adopted the word recycle day. That changed because
Right.
then, unknown to me, Winnipeg was at the bottom of the ladder in terms of recycling activity here. That day changed a lot of people's mind because now the media start to take hold of this thanks to Matt Condell from Power 97. After I made my presentation to him, he says, Don, you're right. We got to do this. So from Matt came Shaw Cable, and eventually it just, from one thing lead to the next, lead to the next, lead to the next, and next thing you know, voila. But it took 2 years to it took 2 years to actually bug everybody. I was sending out emails sometimes,
Sure.
3 or 4 emails a week to the same people. And Matt Condell at Power 97 at the time was the one who says, Don, I'm going to give you 5 minutes so you could stop sending me emails. I said, I'll take it. Okay. So I went to his office, and it was like 3 minutes to 12, and he says, go, good, you got 5 minutes. I said, no, Matt, I'm going to wait till that clock says 12. and 12:05, I'll shut up. And
That's
you can
awesome.
keep me out for here, right? Needless to say, when I made my presentation, given my reasons for doing this, he says, Don, there's no way I could say no to this.
Right.
I mean,
so you mentioned it before, the person that you were inspired by, Dr.
David Suzuki.
So give us a little background on Dr. Suzuki.
Dr. David Suzuki started the Suzuki Foundation. He is Canada's leading environmentalist, marine biologist, and he has championed the climate issue and environmentalist and sustainability for Canada and the world. A lot of folks know him worldwide as well. And it was a pleasure. So he's a giant, in terms of the environmental movement here in Canada, and an icon. So when I got the chance to meet him, one of the question that we connected with as well, he asked the question, if you were a prime minister of Canada, what would you do? And in my video presentation to him, I said, because people were taking your video presentation and they put it together, I said, if I am prime minister, I would make sure that equalization payments are not paid out to no province unless they can protect our waterway. That is a very simple thing. Needless to say, I was the top of the leaderboard because he says, wow, that is so simple. And I got that because going back to my farming roots in Jamaica, if you do not protect your waterway, if you don't make sure that if it floods in one area, it's not damaging your farmland, but it's carefully navigated. And when you have the rivers start to rise, you have people in the community sound the alarm, and they start working to clear it so that you don't destroy everything else down the road. And in terms of, we didn't use pesticide in Jamaica. Pesticide wasn't something we used. But in terms of farming, there are certain farms that was never allowed to be close to your waterway for obvious reasons, right?
Right. Yes.
You can't put a pig farm close to where you drink water.
Exactly.
It doesn't work, right?
No.
And so that level of sustainability became natural to me. Right. So when the question was asked, what would I do if Prime Minister? I said, protect your water. And I go, wow, I thought that was the simplest thing. So we end up connecting with Dr. David Suzuki, who, by the way, then featured me in his magazine, Finding Solution. And I go, wow, holy,
But, it's people who live the land that have it from their heart, that understand what affects the land.
Yes.
The wind, the rain, the pitch, the type of soil, you connect. And when you become disconnected and it becomes a bag of fertilizer that, comes from Dow Chemical from whatever company.
From whatever company.
From whatever company.
Yes.
And it's not open the bag and spread it out. Know what it does. Understand whether it is evasive or helpful.
Yep.
and making intelligent decisions before you use it is the key.
One of the things that I would love to pass on to just the general public, if you see an apple on a tree and worm eats a side of that apple, and you see another apple on another tree and no worm eat it, which apple would you buy? Which apple is safe for your consumption? People don't understand. The apple that is eaten by the worm is the apple that is safest to eat.
Right.
People go, it have worms, throw it away. No, no. Listen, aspartame will never be consumed by any ants. You put aspartame on the ground, ants walk around it.
Exactly.
You put sugar on the ground, ants is eating it.
Right.
Why is that? Why is that? Yet still aspartame is in everything that we eat and drink for sweets. Why is that? Okay. And so again, it's that because fortunately for me, I grew up on a farm. It was commonplace. It was a natural thing for me to have sustainability around me. So the things that become natural to me doesn't necessarily become natural to somebody else who has never been on a farm. They don't even think about what I said.
Right.
When I started Your World and Mine, an environmental episode on Shaw Cable, we talk about parabens. And in my research for parabens, ladies who are listening, if you want to know what you're doing in the morning, the amount of toxin that you're putting on, from your shampoo to your hair products to everything your face. Our skin is the biggest organ. So anything you put on your face naturally goes right into your body. We got to be careful, but who's talking about it? So you, me, and the environment, Your World and Mine, these things I've deliberately gone out there, put out there online, and hopefully that's where people start to take some kind of encouragement from it, because now the information is out there. And there's one store that literally changed completely an entire product line. The hardest thing is the habits. And so changing the name from Garbage Day to Recycle Day, that was the start.
Right.
Because now we have more than, at the time it was like 30% participation rate in the recycling program in Winnipeg. Today we have over 95% participation rate. That in itself, I pinch myself, wake up, Don. You actually see that transformation, go, oh my God.
But, the thing too, the chemical companies have, like the Dow chemical companies now, just to use them as a reference because I used them prior, they have changed and they've learned the environmental piece of it, and it sells, which is another good thing. So they're finding the impact and trying to find ways that are safer. But the safest is what the ant is deciding to eat. So, probably the best judge of what's the safest thing that's edible. You kind of look at what nature's picking and what nature's telling as a starting point. And that's a lot of what you were talking about in your book. So
precisely. So you go to the market and you want to buy vegetables, you want to buy a leafy greens to eat. If no worm hole is in one of the leaf, versus you see another patch with some worm hole in it, buy the patch with the worm hole in it.
Right.
I guarantee you.
Right.
But no, society doesn't want that. They want it to be nice and clean and pristine, and it's the total opposite from what being healthy, being sustainable is all about.
I spent time on a farm with family that had farms, and you're eating from the field. You're not eating from some picture of a fruit. You're there picking it from the vine. And there's a different impact when you're farming. And that's one of the things that I've always encouraged for my kids, is to experience what it is to be in the field, to pick the food, to pick and understand what it's like to the work that's involved. That farmers are doing, so that they have some appreciation of who's putting it on your table at the same time.
Absolutely.
So we've talked a lot about a lot of general things. Is there anything that you would like to talk about as we're drawing closer to our time about the book, so that people can understand a little bit more about the story that you've conveyed?
My ambition is to leave this as a roadmap for folks, youngsters, whether you're young or old, out there who have an idea. The richest plots of land on this earth are graveyards. There's a reason people die with their ideas without giving it a shot, because somebody said to them, oh, that can't work. Somebody said to them, you will never get this done. And sometimes it's the closest family members too. It don't have to be a dead stranger. But whenever you hear the words don't or can't or impossible or this will never happen, when you hear those words, let this book be a motivation for you to say, wait a minute. If Don Woodstock can do these things without elected office, never had elected office before, if Don Woodstock with a handful of people can do these things, then there's no stopping me from doing it. So regardless, despite what you think, despite what anybody thinks, no matter who that person is, too often we relied on influencers,
right?
Because the guy have 20,000 followers per day, he becomes an influencer. So he then tells you you can't do something. That world need to change, and change fast, because that word is clickbait. That word is artificial, it's superficial. So as a result of that, my ambition is to say to everybody out there listening, everybody who can connect to this, your dreams should not die with you. Your aspirations should not die with you. Don't let the graveyard be the richest source anymore of your dreams and aspiration. Do it. There's a famous saying that Nike has put up. What you waiting for? Just do it.
Right.
Just do it. And if your mother said it can't be done, or your father said it can't be done, your pastor said it can't be done, the minister said it can't be done, the MP said it can't be done, your brother said it can't be done, I don't care who said it can't be done.
Try.
Believe in yourself, believe in God.
Yes.
And if you have somebody around you that don't believe in anything that you're doing, do yourself a favor. Pull away slowly. Find counsel in your God, whatever you deem God to be,
right,
and your admiration, your vision. Because when you do that, the path will open for you. The universe will make space for your dream. The universe will make space for your admiration. The universe will make space for whatever you want to put forward, as long as it is with the heart. So the first thing you have to say to yourself, am I doing this because I believe in it, or am I doing this because the influencers say so? If the influencers and your peers says so, that's the reason you're doing it, stop. Time out. No more. If you believe in it, whatever you believe in, this book will serve as a reminder that, listen, as long as you're unrelenting, as long as you keep going, because remember, winners never quit and quitters never win.
Yeah, there you go. So your book is available on Amazon?
Yes, it's available on Amazon and Lulu, and it's available on some other spaces as well. So we're trying to get it out as much as possible. Pretty soon.
And you have a website, I think?
Website, yes. It's Don Woodstock Unrelenting.com. So Don Woodstock Unrelenting, punching Unrelenting anywhere, and it will pop up. We have done well to try and highlight some of these things. So we're hopeful that more people will see it, and for the next generation, is me passing the torch. Is me saying, guys, listen, I have done my bit. Now I need some more people to step into that gap.
Right.
And now to take
Pass
this
it on.
because we have a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do.
Passing the torch to the next. Exactly. Don, it has been a pleasure to talk to you. I really appreciate the time. And I've learned a lot. And I found a little bit of inspiration at the same time. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Stories Author to Author. I hope you've
Unrelenting.
And the author of Unrelenting. I hope you've enjoyed diving into our creative process and talking to Don about his efforts to write the book.
Yes.
I also hope to talk to you someday about your efforts and to tell your story. So until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep sharing those stories. See you
Unrelenting.
soon. Unrelenting. Thank you.
Thanks.